In the early years of the 13th century, the known world was shaken by a force few understood and none could stop. From tossed, wind-swept grasslands of Central Asia emerged an army that moved faster than messengers, struck harder than established empires, and disappeared before retaliation could even begin. Cities that had stood for centuries collapsed in weeks. Armies considered invincible were destroyed in a single day. Survivors whispered a terrifying name: the Mongols. Too many in Europe and the Middle East. They were known as the Scourge of God, a punishment sent to humble mankind. But behind the fear and devastation lay a story far more complex, one of strategy, intelligence, discipline, and transformation. This is the story of the Mongol Invasions and the rise of the largest contiguous land empire in human history. The Mongol story begins on the harsh steppe of Mongolia, a land defined by extremes. Bitter winters, scorching summers, and endless open plains shaped a people who depended on mobility and resilience to survive. Around the year 1162, a boy named Temujin was born into this unforgiving world. His early life was marked by instability and loss. When his father was poisoned by a rival tribe, Temujin's family was abandoned by their clan and left to fend for themselves. Hunger, violence, and betrayal became part of his daily reality. These experiences hardened him and shaped his understanding of power. Steppe loyalty mattered more than lineage, and survival depended on strength, intelligence, and alliances. As Temujin grew older, he learned to navigate the complex politics of tribal life. He formed alliances when necessary and broke them when they no longer served his purpose. He rewarded loyalty and punished betrayal without hesitation. Unlike traditional steppe leaders, he promoted followers based on merit rather than noble birth, creating a bond of loyalty that transcended clan divisions. Over time, his reputation grew. Through a series of calculated wars and strategic marriages, he defeated rival tribes one by one. In 1206, at a great tribal assembly known as Temujin was proclaimed Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. With that title, the Mongol Empire was born. What followed was not a random explosion of violence, but the deliberate construction of a highly efficient war machine. The Mongols were not the most numerous people, nor were they the most technologically advanced. Their strength lay in organization, mobility, and adaptability. Every Mongol warrior was a skilled horseman. Each carried several horses, allowing armies to travel vast distances at extraordinary speed. This mobility gave them a decisive advantage over slower, infantry-based armies. Their primary weapon, the composite bow, was small but powerful, capable of piercing armor and remaining accurate even when fired from horseback. Mongol armies were organized into strict decimal units, making command and control remarkably efficient. Communication was rapid, discipline was absolute, and orders were followed without question. They perfected tactics such as the feigned retreat, where troops pretended to flee, luring enemies into pursuit before turning suddenly and attacking from all sides. They also relied heavily on intelligence, sending scouts far ahead of their armies to gather information on terrain, enemy strength, and defenses. Fear itself became a weapon. Cities that resisted Mongol rule were often destroyed completely, their populations massacred. Cities that surrendered were usually spared. This pattern spread terror faster than the armies themselves, convincing many opponents that resistance was pointless. Yet the Mongols were not merely destroyers. They were pragmatic. Skilled artisans, engineers, and administrators from conquered regions were spared and incorporated into the empire. Knowledge was valued, regardless of its origin. The Mongols' first major conquests were in northern China. The kingdom of Western Xia fell after a series of campaigns, followed by the powerful Jin dynasty. The Mongols proved that even massive walls and fortified cities could not stop them. In 1215, they captured Zhongdu, modern-day Beijing, sending shockwaves across East Asia. These victories demonstrated that the Mongols were capable not only of open-field battles but also of prolonged sieges, often using captured engineers to build siege machines and adapt foreign technologies. While consolidating power in the east, Genghis Khan turned his attention westward. A diplomatic incident with the Khwarazmian Empire proved catastrophic. Mongol merchants were executed, and envoys insulted by the Shah. 2. Genghis Khan. This was an unforgivable offense. In 1219, Mongol armies launched one of the most devastating campaigns in history. They crossed deserts thought impassable and attacked from multiple directions simultaneously. Coordination among enemy forces collapsed. Major cities such as Bukhara and Samarkand fell in rapid succession. Resistance was met with brutal reprisals. Entire populations were slaughtered or enslaved, and vital irrigation systems were destroyed, turning fertile lands into barren wastelands for generations. After crushing Central Asia, Mongol forces continued their advance into the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Under brilliant generals like Sabate, they defeated Georgian armies, annihilated Russian princes at the Battle of the Kalka River, and pushed deep into Europe. In 1240, Kiev was sacked. In 1241, European forces were decisively defeated at the battles of Legnica and Mohi. Heavy European knights, burdened by armor and slow formations, were helpless against fast-moving Mongol cavalry. Panic spread across Europe. Chroniclers wrote of divine punishment and the end of days. Only one event stopped the Mongols, advanced the death of the great Khan in Mongolia. According to Mongol tradition, leading commanders were required to return home for the selection of a new ruler. Europe survived not through strength, but through chance. Genghis Khan himself died in 1227, but his empire did not fade. His successors expanded it even further. Under Ge'ez Mongol control stretched across much of Eurasia. Later rulers pushed into the Middle East, capturing Baghdad in 1258 and ending the Abbasid kingdom. In China, Kublai Khan established the Yuan dynasty, ruling as emperor from Beijing. At its seat, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe, the largest contiguous land empire the world has ever seen. Despite the devastation they caused, the Mongols also transformed the world in unexpected ways. They secured and revitalized the Silk Road, allowing trade and communication to flourish across continents. A vast relay system known as the Yam enabled messages to travel thousands of kilometers in days. The Mongols practiced a degree of religious tolerance rare for the era, allowing Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, and other faiths to coexist within their domains. Technologies, ideas, and goods flowed between East and West as never before. Over time, the empire fractured into regional internal conflicts, cultural assimilation, and administrative challenges weakened central authority. Yet the legacy of the Mongol invasions endured. They reshaped borders, altered economies, and accelerated the process of global connection. They demonstrated that adaptability, intelligence, and speed could overcome tradition and numerical superiority. From the wind-swept steppes of Mongolia emerged a force that changed the course of history. In less than a century, the Mongols redrew the map of Eurasia, not with walls or castles, but with horses, strategy, and fear. They were destroyers and builders, conquerors and connectors. Their story is a reminder that history often belongs not to the most advanced, but to those who adapt, move swiftly, and strike with purpose.